Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob, and I will be your host for this evening. So it's been some time since I've seen you guys. We missed the last episode of Echoes of the Past, and we missed the last two episodes of Far From Fiction. It's just been a little bit of a crazy time for me, one with the holidays, but then also, you may be able to tell in my voice, but I've been battling a sinus infection as well. Still trying to get over it, but I can breathe and I can at least talk a little bit better than I was able to a few days ago. So I definitely wanted to come on here, and I was not about to miss an episode of the Friday Night Campfire Stories because this is the first Friday of the month, as well as the first Friday of the year. This means we are going to be starting a brand new story. The story I'm going to share with you guys this month is called Confinement. Confinement is a story that I hold close to my heart because it's one that I've thought about for a very long time. I think I came up with the idea about 10 years ago, and then in about 2017, I tried to get it copyrighted as well as pitch it to producers. However, I didn't really know what I was doing back then. I did it a very poor way and not smart at all, and so it never happened. But maybe that was for the better, because here we are now and I get to share the story with you guys here on my own YouTube channel. Confinement follows a young woman named Alex, who is this town's queen pretty much. Everybody looks at her, she's the golden girl, and they just really look up to her. All the guys want to be with her, all the girls want to be her. However, she falls into a little bit of a legal issue which lands her in court. However, the judge knows who she is, he's seen her grow up, and so he gives her a little bit of a light sentence. However, the light sentence that he gives and everybody else sees as a light sentence ends up being what she looks at as her death penalty. And that's because she now has to reside the next 6 months with her brother, which again, doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal, but to her, like I said, it is pretty much her death penalty she looks at it as. However, the math just doesn't seem to math, and something you'll find out here pretty soon. You'll find out why. But yeah, so I don't want to give too much more away. So with that being said, this is Chapter 1 of Confinement. Confinement, Chapter 1. Jury, how do you find the defendant in the case of Alex Ingram, charged with forging prescription drugs? The lead juror's voice was steady but somber. We find the defendant guilty, Your Honor. The judge's gaze fell, his expression reflecting the weight of the verdict. I'm truly sorry, Alex. I understand you had good intentions, but unfortunately, this was a case of wrong place, wrong time. Alex's tears began to fall as she spoke, her voice trembling. Your Honor, I never meant to hurt anyone. If I could undo everything, I would in an instant. Please, Judge Farrow, have mercy. I only did this because my boyfriend was suffering. He was in unbearable pain and couldn't afford the medication. Those pills would have cost him thousands. Judge Farrow's tone softened, tinged with sympathy. Alex, I've known you since you were a child, always the beacon of light in this small town. It pains us all to see you in this position. Normally the sentence for these charges ranges from 2 to 11 years, but given your clean record and the circumstances, I'm willing to show mercy. Alex looked up, a flicker of hope igniting her eyes. The company you work for has assured me that you are a corporate-level, work-from-home employee, and they want to keep you employed as long as I can avoid sending you to prison. Therefore, I'm considering a 6-month house arrest at your childhood home. Don't you think that's a fair compromise? Judge Farrow proposed. Alex's face drained of color. Most would be relieved by this verdict, but Alex knew too well the dark reality awaiting her at home. Your Honor, please, anything but that. I don't feel safe there. I can't go back, she pleaded, her voice breaking. Nonsense, Alex. You'll have the house mostly to yourself. Your brother is the only other resident, and he shouldn't be much of a bother, the judge replied reassuringly. Panic gripped Alex. No, Judge Farrow, you don't understand. There has to be another way. The judge's expression grew more serious. Miss Ingram, the only alternative is prison. Alex weighed her options. Time in a prison cell, losing her job, and enduring setbacks in her life progress, or 6 months confined to the house she feared, but a chance to keep her job. "I'll take prison," Alex said decisively. Laughter erupted in the courtroom. Judge Sparrow, shaking his head with a wry smile, declared, "Miss Ingram, you always had a good sense of humor. Very well. I send you to 6 months of house arrest." He slammed his gavel down with finality. As the courtroom emptied, Alex sat frozen, engulfed in deepening panic. Her mind replayed tragic events that led to that moment, a grim narrative she felt would haunt her forever. Last winter, she laid beside her ailing boyfriend, Luke, whose condition had worsened significantly. Without insurance and having lost his job due to deteriorating health, Luke had grown increasingly afraid of seeking medical help. His suffering became unbearable, and Alex, desperate to alleviate his pain, made the fateful decision to forge a prescription for him. When she went to pick up the medication, local police alerted by the drugstore were there waiting for her. She had mispronounced the drug's name, triggering their suspicion. That night, Alex spent her first night in jail, and Luke passed away in his sleep, alone, in agony. Shaking off the memory, Alex resolved to confront Judge Sparrow, determined to fight her fate. "Sir, I cannot live with my brother," Alex exclaimed, after weaving through the crowd of people to find Judge Sparrow. "We don't have a good relationship, and honestly, I'm worried for my safety if I lived with him." "Sweetie, we both know your brother, and I seriously doubt that there's any danger. I would even guarantee it," Judge Sparrow responds. "It may even benefit you. Your brother's the only family you have left, and this will be a wonderful opportunity for you two to rekindle any relationship you had." At this point, Alex is finding out there's no point in putting up a fight anymore. She's trying to cope with the fact that she is in danger and no one is going to help her get out of this. At the moment, a tall man in a police uniform walks up to the two of them. "Alex, I would like you to meet Officer Chester," says the judge about the man who just walked up. "He is going to be taking you to your home and setting you up for your sentence." "Nice to meet you, ma'am," says Officer Chester. "He will also be checking in on you periodically throughout your time in the house," Judge Sparrow announces. "If you will, take Miss Ingram away, officer." Officer Chester and Alex exit the courtroom and head to the police car parked out back. She gets in the back while Officer Chester starts the car and the two drive toward the Ingram household. "You seem down for someone who just got off with house arrest for what should have been a prison sentence," he tells Alex. "I'd much rather be in jail right now. I'm not safe there," she tells the cop. "Is it ran down? Is there mold, something that might be harmful?" he asks. "No, sir. Just my brother. He's always been jealous of me and he's mad at the world. I'm afraid the two of us living together might end up with me being dead," she responds. Officer Chester, now with a concerned look in his face, questioned if the judge made the best call. "Sorry if I sound dumb. I'm new to the area. Is it that bad? What did you do to your brother?" he asked. "He has some issues that cause him to be mad at the world, and he hates me most because I was born normal," she tells the cop. "Please, you need to tell Judge Sparrow it is not a safe environment for me. There has to be another option for me to serve my sentence." "Ma'am, I don't know what's going on, but it is my duty to make sure that you are safe," Officer Chester says while pulling up to the house. "I'm going in first while you stay out here. I will assess the situation, and I'll determine if it's safe for you or not." Officer Chester walks inside as Alex waits for him to return. She hopes that he sees the danger and gets her out of the situation, but she highly doubts it, though. She starts having devious thoughts about escaping. She knows that would only land her in prison and ruin her life, but at least she would have a life to live. A couple minutes pass. Alex sees the front door open back up with Officer Chester returning to the squad car. He opens the back door and looks at Alex with a puzzled face. "Ma'am, I'm really confused. Is this the right house?" he asks. "Yes, sir," Alex responds. "And that is your brother in there, Baylor?" he questions. "Yes, sir," she answers. "Miss Ingram, there's no threat in that house. Please follow me," he tells her while helping her out of the car. The two walk up to the door of a normal-looking family-style house. To Alex, though, this was the gate to hell for the next 6 months, or as long as she was still breathing. They walk into the house, and she sees the young man sitting in the chair facing a wall, a blank look on his face. Alex's heart starts racing, and she even turns to the door trying to run out before Officer Chester grabs her arm and stops her. She turns back towards him, only to see an old woman standing in front of her face. Alex let out a small yelp of fear. "You must be Alex. So nice to meet you. I'm Nurse Turner, but you can just call me Rose, though." The nice old lady responds, "I'm your brother's home nurse." "Nice to meet you," Alex says, still shaken by the situation. "Now I have to run back upstairs real quick and finish cleaning. I'll let you settle in. Your brother will be so excited to have you here," Rose explains. Officer Chester and Alex start walking closer to her brother. With each step, her legs get more and more shaky. They finally walk up to Baylor, and he does not move a muscle. "What's wrong with him?" asks Officer Chester in the nicest way possible. "He's blind and deaf," Alex responds. "Got it. And how long has he been like this?" he asks. "Since birth," she responds, with a panicked tone. The both of them stood there for a minute, trying to gather thoughts. Alex worried about her next 6 months and how she was going to make it out alive. Officer Chester wondered how in the world she could see any type of danger. "Ma'am, I don't mean to be rude, but why are you scared?" he asked in a confused manner. "He hates me because I can live a normal life. I was born normal. My parents used to have to explain to him I have no choice in the matter, but he always done things that could have gotten me killed," Alex explains. Officer Chester is having doubts that Alex is telling the truth. "Miss Ingram, I think you're going to be just fine living here." "Easy for you to say," she says under her breath. "I mean, we've had an entire conversation right next to him, and he doesn't even know that we're here," he says sarcastically as Rose walks down the stairs and enters the conversation. "He would love to know that you're here," Rose says with joy. "How would he know that we're here, ma'am?" asks Officer Chester. "He has heightened senses and can feel a person's energy and tell who it is if he's met you before," Rose shares. "All you have to do is put your hand on his shoulder." Rose then grabs Alex's hand and moves it to Baylor's shoulder. The moment that Alex touches his hand, it's like she's stuck it into an oven. It's boiling. There's pain in her hand that sends a sharp torment through her entire body. Baylor snaps and grabs his sister's hand forcefully. Alex let out a scream and began calling out in pain. "He's going to break my hand," she screams. Just then, Officer Chester touches his hand on Baylor's other shoulder. He lets go of Alex's arm. The two others looked at her with confusing grins. They believe she is playing into the whole Baylor's evil thing a little too much. Officer Chester prepares Alex and walks her through all the rules of house arrest. "You are not to leave the property. I have set up a perimeter. If you leave at any point, the alarm will sound and I will be over here in just 10 minutes to ensure that you are still here," Officer Chester explains. "You work from home. All the groceries will be purchased by Rose, so there's no reason for you to leave. This is meant to be a rehabilitation, to get your mind right. If anything were to happen to you again legally, you would not be as lucky. Take this punishment gracefully. The next 6 months will fly by." "Rose, you'll be here all the time, correct?" Alex asks the nurse. "No, honey. I'm just here from sunup till sundown. I do everything for Baylor during the day, but once I get him to bed for the evening, I go home and get a good night's rest in my bed before heading back in the morning," Rose explains. "Why wouldn't you stay around the clock? What if he needs something at night?" Alex says with worry about her safety. "I've been doing this since your parents passed away, and he is fine at night. He has everything he would need, and he usually just sleeps peacefully," she answers. "Plus, now that you're here, maybe you can keep an eye on him during the night?" "I don't know how to take care of him, though," Alex says in panic. "It's very simple. You won't ever have to worry about him. He just sleeps anyway," says Rose. "I'm sure Miss Ingram won't have any issues in taking care of her blind and deaf brother at night, right?" Officer Chester says in an annoyed tone. "Yes, sir," Alex answers in a scared manner. "Great. Well, you're all set. I will leave you to it. Have a wonderful evening," Officer Chester tells both the ladies before exiting the house and driving away. Rose then puts Baylor to bed, and she also leaves the house, leaving Alex and Baylor home alone. Alex enters Baylor's bedroom cautiously and looks at her now asleep brother. Maybe they are right. He can't hear, or C, maybe she'll be fine. How much damage could he do? She exits the room and heads to her room upstairs and prepares for bed. It took Alex some time to get to sleep. She was uncomfortable and also worried about the thought of sleeping in the same house as her brother. After some time, she finally had fallen asleep to the exhaustion of the entire day. In the middle of the night, Alex was awoken by what sounded like footsteps going up the stairs towards her room. She was paralyzed in fear of what might be coming her way. She was quiet and moved her eyes towards the door to her room. The footsteps stopped for a second, and she thought she was in the clear. It was only then that the door began to slowly open. Alex, in terror, jumped onto the floor and rolled under the bed. She sees the door open and the footsteps of Baylor walking to the edge of the bed. She can hear the sound of his arm dragging around the top of the bed. He was clearly looking to see where she was. After moving his hand around the entire bed, Baylor stands there for a second. Alex lays motionless on the floor, trying to avoid doing anything that would give her location away. After some time, Baylor finally left the edge of the bed and started leaving the room. As he left, Alex noticed Baylor had a knife in his hand. This image only ensured Alex was in danger of her brother. After one night of her 6 months residency of living with her brother, she had to tell someone. But who would believe her? So that is going to do it for today. Sorry to leave you off like that. Give you guys a little something to think about. But of course, this is just chapter 1 of 4 of my story, Confinement. We'll be back next Friday with chapter 2. We will also be starting back up the other episodes of the series that we have here on the channel. Every Monday we do an episode of Echoes of the Past, which is my paranormal series where we look into the history of haunted locations. And then every Wednesday we'll do an episode of Far From Fiction, which is my true crime series. Those will be starting back up next week. So I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time. And as always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.